All right, welcome to this hip movement flow. Starting with a downward facing dog, get to know your hips, your spine, and your shoulders. Move around, feel what's natural from the cobra to the down dog. We'll be spending some time in this position just to ease into it. Feel your legs, hamstrings, the spine, and all the way down to your shoulder. Feel what your body needs today and screen through it and work a bit longer in those areas you feel more tensed. First movement in, put your right leg in front, right leg outside of your palm, and we will now focus on the hip flexor. Press the knee into different positions, move your hips around and really open up those hips. Now lean backwards and soften into your hamstrings. This routine is all about moving into your body and feel where you have tight areas to work with. Now lift your arms up overhead and go into that deep hamstring flex and hip flexor stretch. So you can move forth and back and feel the hamstring and the hip. So a dynamic hip opener just to ease into the movement. Now, put your right foot back and change to the opposite leg. So left leg outside your palm, and in this position, feel into it by moving your knee out, press with your arm, and create that rotation in the hip. Help with your spine and really feel where you feel tight, and go backwards to feel the hamstring stretch, or forward to create an even greater stretch in your hip flexor. We're going to spend some time in this position, so just move and ease into it and figure out where you feel tight. You can even compare this side to your first pose, like do you feel tighter on your hip flexors on your left side compared to the other, or is your hamstring any different? Now back to child's pose. We're just going to stay here for a couple seconds, move into your hips, lean side to side and feel the difference after moving your hips. The next movement now, up to downward facing dog, and now lift the left knee as high as possible, and now we want to create big circles with your hip. Imagine having a brush attached to your knee and you're able to create this big circle with your knee. So try to press the knee as high as possible and create a huge circle. Feel where you have tight areas of your hip. If you feel any pain or discomfort, go slow and try to maintain slow movement in this position. After a while, you'll also feel your shoulder working, but try to maintain in this downward facing dog and create huge circles with your hip. Nobody moves like you, so move into your position, try to make it smooth, and on the last circle, you come down with the knee and into the pigeon pose. All right, so now stretching the posterior capsule of your hip and also the glutes, and you can even feel it on the outside of your hip. Stay in this position and move around. You can even focus on your breath, move your spine up and down, and feel into those tight areas. Do what feels natural for you and focus on the breath. Slowly coming out of the pose and changing to the other leg. So from the downward facing dog, we now want to change to the right leg. Lift the knee and leg as high as possible, and again create these big circles while trying to maintain the downward facing dog position. Remember, slow, controlled movements is what we want, and don't push through any aggravating or irritating position. Then place your hip a bit lower so you don't push too far into that discomfort. Again, just lubricating your joint, smoothing the rounding of your muscles around your hip sockets. Stay in this position for one more circle. Create a big circle and slowly coming down with the knee into the opposite pigeon stretch. All right, we did this on the other side. Now try to compare this side to your other hip. Do you feel any difference, tightness, pinching? Move around dynamically, focus on your breath and really feel the squeeze or stretch in your glutes. Again, this is a stretch for you, so try to find a position that's most convenient, where you really feel the tenderness in that area, and move around dynamically. Alright, just gonna stay here for a couple more seconds. Really ease or squeeze into that stretch. Last final seconds before we come up to a standing position, slowly out of the pose. Alright, so now our hips are flexible and now we've been moving around. Now we want to put some load to it. Start on one leg, lift the other leg backwards, and we're going to try to create something called the helicopter or airplane. The goal is to try to do 3 reps on each side without falling. You're allowed to touch the ground, but don't stay there too long. Again, this is a rotation at the hip, and you want to feel control in the top position and in the bottom position. When you're done your 3 or 4 reps, change legs, and now opposite leg, push it backwards and really feel the center of gravitation through your foot. Feel how much you need to work with stability from your foot, your knee, your hip, and it's all happening in the center of mass at your hip. Alright, if this is your first time, go slow and focus on the rotation at the hip. You don't have to go all the way down as long as you maintain balance, and after 3 to 4 reps, put your feet down and take a short break. Move around, do what your body needs or feel that it needs to do before we go on to the next exercise. On the next exercise, put your feet together and count out 5 steps. After you've done 5 steps, we want to put you in what we call the horse stance. We're now going to hold this position for 30 seconds. Try to go as deep as possible so your hip is lower than your knees, and when you're in this position, press your hips forward so you really feel that your hips are working. This is a great exercise for strengthening all the muscles around your hips, and yes, this is a burner. Feel the burn, chest upright, try to lean forward with the hips and hold. Think of a beautiful place because this is painful in the beginning. Stay in the position. We're going to do a couple more seconds and slowly squat to the upright position. All right, great work. Short rest, just move your feet, your ankles until we go into the next pose. The next pose is a dragon squat. I'll show you 1 rep first. So lift one knee, place the knee behind you and as close as possible to the ground or to your ankle. So do this together. Heel towards the ground, almost touching if you're able, either with your toe or with your knee, and then go for 3 reps on each side. I will also show you the last rep where you can go all the way down in what we call a dragon squat, where you release the tail. Yes, it's hard for mobility and strength, and come up to a standing position. When you're done with the 3 reps, change sides, and here as well, try to lower yourself with control. The trick is to keep the opposite knee as close to the calf as possible. Find a depth where you're able to lower yourself with control and press yourself up without assistance. In the beginning, you can use slightly assistance from the feet touching the ground. Okay, easing into our last standing position. This is a straddle stretch. Now we want to focus on the hips and your lower back. So move side to side, bending the knees, and try to extend your lower back. When you find a position, place either your elbows or your hands in the ground. Now you can feel that your joints are more warm, ready, and you can almost manipulate your lower spine into those new positions. Now finishing with the last pose, I want you to turn around and lay down on your back. This position, we just want to rotate at your lower spine. So place one knee, if you choose your right knee, lift it towards your chest and rotate it to your left. Use your other arm to add pressure towards the ground. Maintain this position for as long as needed. You can stay here for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 or longer until you feel a difference in your spine. If you're going to work out after this position, don't want you to stay too long before you change sides. If this is what you do in the morning to just wake up, you can stay for longer. But for now, we change sides and do the opposite side. Hold the position and really feel the rotation of your lower spine and focus on your breath. If you're training after this, I don't want you to stay too long in this position, so come back, but finish with a couple of seconds with straight legs lying flat on the floor. If you're now going straight into training, jump up, get ramped up and ready for today's training. Wish you a great day or a great training session.